Welcome, my constant reader friends. I'm Tad, and this is Tad Reads Books and Stuff. All right, so I'm a little bit behind in my Shorty King's Project updates, so we're going to get to that today. But first, let me do a quick update on my reading progress so far. Well, through, what is today? March 12th already. Holy cow, already through March 12th. Oh, first, I got to show you something. So, the 10th was Friday, and a new album was released, and it was Miley Cyrus. I hope this isn't too much of a glare for you. I've got it in my plastic protection. Miley Cyrus' new album came out, and I got to be honest with you, I've listened to it 5 times completely through already. I'm loving it. I am a Miley Cyrus fan. I think she's super talented. Maybe a little strange at times, but absolutely a musical talent. I guess she gets it from her father, right? Who knows? But anyways, it came out Friday, and I had a little record listening party. Me, my girlfriend, and her daughter and fiance came over, and we listened to this. It's really, really good. I just wanted to show you. I got it. It's on black vinyl. But Miley Cyrus came out Friday. Loving it. All right, got that out of the way. So far, I have, for my Shorty King's Project, I have started the next book on that list, and of course that's the Bachman books. 4 early novels by Stephen King. It's got Rage, Long Walk, Roadwork, and Running Man. I have worked my way through Rage, so the Long Walk is next. We will be finishing this month. All right, have not started this yet, but I'm going to be starting this for sure this week. Just wanted to get that out of the way. Bron McMorran, The Last King, Robert E. Howard. I've been promising this for a while. Yes, I'm going to get to it immediately. I have read through the next 6 chapters in the saga read along I'm doing with Graz on his channel, the GKBC. This is book 2. And we just finished, 25 through 30 chapters in this book. I've done a video for this. Please check that out. You know, I'm loving this series. I'm having a blast doing a read-through with Graz. Please check out his channel as well. So, those 6. And, of course, what we're all here to see... Different Seasons by Stephen King. This is completed. I should have probably done the video last week, but I'm running a little bit behind. I'm sorry. But let's get the numbers out of the way real quick. So this was published in 1982. I got it. My mother gave this to me for my birthday in 1983. My birthday is January 30th. So this book had been out a little bit when she gifted it to me, and I read it. Of course, I've read it. This will be my 3rd time reading through this, although we're going to talk about it a little bit. The last story in here, I didn't really remember that well, and usually once I start reading something, all of a sudden it floods back into my brain, and you know, I remember everything. The last story, maybe it's something that I just passed over and didn't read as much as I guess I've read the other stories in this book. But my version of this book has 527 pages if you're counting the afterword as well. I love the afterwords that Stephen King puts in his books, where he describes, some things about the book, the writing of it and his headspace and things like that. I'm going to read a little bit from that in here. But on Goodreads, it's a 4.35 currently. Good score. I think it should be higher, to be honest with you. It's one of my favorites. But as we're going to talk about, not all of them, for sure. So what is this book? It says different seasons. It's kind of just, I guess, a vehicle, a title he had come up with to publish a book that has some novellas in it. He talks about in the afterword how even at this period in 1982 when this was published, how it was getting harder and harder for authors to actually publish novellas, or as he says, the cute word, a novelette. Even back in 82 it was difficult. I think it's even more difficult. He does talk about there are some magazines out there that he would use to do serialized, like Playboy or Omni, where you could do installments of a novella and get away with it, but not too many. Mostly it's either, short fiction, short stories, and of course longer novels. But he needed a vehicle to publish these stories. He decided to do this, called it Different Seasons. Now, of course, 4 seasons, right? So how does he delineate the different seasons in this book? So it starts right out, it says, Hope Springs Eternal. Hope Springs Eternal. Yes, so that's the first short story in the book, Rita Hayworth and Shawshank Redemption. Now, in my version, that's 102 pages. So as he was saying in the afterword, you get around 20,000 to 40,000 words in a story. You've got a novella, and you've got to make that decision. Am I going to turn this into a full novel, or should I shorten it? But sometimes you can't. That's what you have, that you've told your story. So this one has 102 pages, the first story, and really, probably my favorite in this whole book. If you are familiar with Stephen King at all, then you know these. You may not be a reader of Stephen King, but you may have seen some of the movies, of Stephen King's novels or novellas. And Shawshank Redemption is probably one of my all-time favorite movie adaptations of any of his writing. They're getting much better now than they were back in the 80s. I guess for me anyways. I liked Shawshank Redemption a ton. It's very faithful to the story. So if you don't want to read the story, that's fine. You can check out the movie. It's done really well. Again, pretty faithful to the story. That's why I liked it so much. All 4 stories in this novel are Castle Rock stories. However, he was making an attempt, he says in the afterword, to publish something that isn't quote-unquote horror. Although there are definitely horrific episodes in each of these stories, it's not horror per se, even though it is Castle Rock too. So you will see that they actually, as they go on through these stories, they will mention the previous story, for instance, or throw in some other things in there, like, I don't know, maybe a little kid in a yellow rain slicker running down the streets in the rain, different things like that. So it is Castle Rock, which, is a horrific made-up town. You know what it is? This, and I really enjoy this in Stephen King's writing. These are really part of the Lovecraft mythos. Lovecraft has his different made-up towns, or like the Miskatonic University, things like that. Other writers have written in the open environment, the open world of H.P. Lovecraft mythos stories, like The King in Yellow. Different authors have written in his world. And I think really that's what Castle Rock is. I think it's just another strange town in the Lovecraft mythos. You may disagree with me. That's how I feel about it. But anyways, getting back to man, I do this all the time, right? You probably are used to it now if you've been watching my videos. But yeah, so Shawshank Redemption, of course, takes place in Shawshank Prison. I'm not going to go in depth a lot in these stories today. Because, I mean, it's been done to death, really. Let's be honest. You know, anyways, the next one. So then we had the Hope Springs Eternal. Now we're going into Summer of Corruption. Now, even though the story Shawshank Redemption doesn't take place in the spring per se, you know, he kind of is using the time period as well, but not as much as just coming up with a cool way to delineate these stories. Summer of Corruption. So, Apt Pupil, right? So, Apt Pupil does take place, a large portion of the story, I guess, takes place, you know, at the beginning, during the summer break. This young boy, you know, introduces himself to an older gentleman. And I will say, I gotta be honest, this is not my favorite story. It's not one of my, I mean, it's never going to be on a top 10 short story list of mine for Stephen King. I really didn't like this story too much. I don't know what it is. The atmosphere in this story, Apt Pupil, is super dark, guys. Super dark. And I don't know if, I don't want to, I'm not going to say what I was just thinking. Sorry. But I don't know if he was almost, this has 195 pages. By far the longest novella in this book, and really could have been 100 pages shorter. Might have had more impact on me if it had been not just this droning dark story going on and on, if it may have been a little more in your face, violent, quick. You know, it may have had more of an impact on me. I just found it hard to read, and this is what, like I said, third or fourth time reading through this, and I'll be honest with you, I've never liked it. Didn't like it again this time. Have never watched the movie. I have no interest in watching the movie. Tell me what you think of specifically. Tell me what you think about Apt Pupil. If you loved it, if you liked it, if you didn't like it, or not just because of the subject matter of Nazis and the concentration camps and that stuff. Just the story in general is very dark and droning, and just, you can almost see, it's one of his where you can almost see the ending coming. I don't think it's a satisfying ending. I think that's, you know, again, we're still early period of Stephen King's writing career, where a lot of people were, even at this point, starting to say he doesn't know how to end a story. I didn't like it. I just didn't like Apt Pupil. I still gave this book an overall, I still gave it a 5 on Goodreads because it's awesome. Shawshank Redemption, amazing. Apt Pupil, not so much. Please tell me what you think. Tell me about the movie too. I've never seen the movie. Should I watch it? I don't know. If I didn't like the story, am I going to like the movie any better? I don't know. It's got good actors in it, but I don't know. Anyway, so moving on. Number 3, Fall of Innocence. See what he did there? Fall of Innocence. This is the body. Now, this one kind of has the right time period. I mean, it's the end of summer. So we're going into right before school is starting for these 4 young kids. And so we're going into fall. Right at the end, it starts to rain and get cold. So I don't know, kind of. But Fall of Innocence, yes. This is, again, probably my second all-time favorite Stephen King adaptation movie. Really good. Not as honest to the story as I think Shawshank Redemption is, but close. Still a very good adaptation of this story. I think the movie is. This one is 153 pages, and really, to me, this is just my love of Stephen King. When he writes these young kind of coming of age stories, and everybody talks about this, but it's just true. I mean, it is. You feel like you become friends with these people. You don't want to end that book or end that story because now they're going to go away and they've become like friends of yours. I don't know. That's how I feel. I loved it. The body is perfect. It's great. I don't know what else to say about it. Again, it is a Castle Rock story. This is where they kind of talk about the kid in the yellow, rain slicker. So, but really good. Let's keep moving. I know this video is probably getting long already. That's me, right? Just long videos. And then the last story is A Winter's Tale, which is the breathing method. And this is the one that I was reading through it and I'm like, man, I almost feel like I've never read this story before. I know I've read through the whole book, but maybe I skipped this story a time or two. It is the shortest of all four. And the ending portion and a lot of the story is kind of cozy, kind of a cozy short story. Only 65 pages, so it's definitely not as verbose as some of these other stories in this book. Still a cool story, a pleasing story. Definitely very H.P. Lovecraftian, if that's a word. I do enjoy it. It is, again, 65 pages, so it's faster, it's to the point. He tells the story, he gets out. I think the ending is good. He does foreshadowing, pretty much basically tells you in the story how it's going to end, but not how it's going to end. What's going to happen at the end, but not how it does. And then he tells you how, of course, at the end, if that makes any sense. But not the greatest story in the book. Of course, I would rate Rita Hayworth in the Shawshank Redemption as number 1. I would rate The Body as number 2. And you know what? I think I'm going to say that the breathing method is better than Apt Pupil. But even Apt Pupil doesn't bring this book down to the point where you don't want to read it. Not so much just the book, but the story. For me, anyways. Again, please tell me what y'all think of Apt Pupil, because it's just not one of my favorites. I wanted to read you just a little bit here to give you some type of idea of the time frame of when he wrote this. Now, as we read before, a lot of his short stories were published in different magazines, and then he compiles them into a short story compilation, like Night Shift or Skeleton Crew, things like that. But this one isn't. These 4 stories were never published prior to being published in this novel. So he says here, I'm just going to read it. Each one of these longish stories was written immediately after completing a novel. It's as if I've always finished a big job with just enough gas left in the tank to blow off one good-sized novella. So, The Body, the oldest story here in this book, was written directly after Salem's Lot. Apt Pupil was written in a 2-week period following the completion of The Shining. He says, and then, and following Apt Pupil, I wrote nothing for 3 months. I was pooped. I understand, because Apt Pupil is kind of long. Then he writes, Rita Hayworth and Shawshank Redemption was written after finishing The Dead Zone, which is a lot of people's favorite novels that he's read, and one that I've never read. Can you believe it? I've got a first. I've had it since it was published, but I've never read it. Don't know why. I'll read it. And then The Breathing Method, the most recently written of these stories, immediately following Firestarter. I just thought that was interesting. Again, I like reading the afterwards. Some people don't. I do. So, I didn't give too much away in this one. Not a lot of spoilers or anything. I just wanted to go over this. I am behind on my postings on my Discord and my Instagram. Just something I'm trying to, get more, I don't know, out there more places than just YouTube. Although this is my favorite place because I can talk directly to you instead of trying to type or keep up to date. Ugh. You know what I'm saying. Anyways, please though, check them out. Check out my Discord. Check out my Instagram if you can. Also, if you found anything entertaining in this video, please like, subscribe, and leave me comments. I love the comments. So, until next time, peace out.